Good afternoon and welcome to my Facebook Live. My name is Michelle Dutrissa and I'm a demonstrator in New South Wales, Australia. And if you're joining us, especially for the first time, please let me know your name and where you're from. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's just get started today. What we're going to be doing today is again working with the hand-penned petals, which is one of the new products that will be coming out with the new annual catalogue. So let me just flip my phone. It won't be one moment. Okay, I hope you've all got that in view. Let me just check. It's just coming up on my tablet. Wonderful. So here's our new catalogue. Unfortunately, I still can't show you what's on the inside of this catalogue. I can't do that until the beginning of May. But if you live here in Australia and you don't have a demonstrator and you want a copy of this catalogue, please just send me a message and I will get one out to you as soon as I possibly can. So let me just pop this to one side and show you, so I can show you today what we're making. So this is the card we're going to make today, and that's using the hand-penned petals. Last week we looked at the hand-penned petals in the Memories and More cards and how you can use those cards for making cards, so making the front part of your card, as well as using it in a very basic way with Memories and More pocket pages. So today we're actually playing with the stamp set and with the dies. Now let me just show you what that all looks like. So this is what you get in the stamp set here. There's quite a few stamps in that. There's 15 stamps altogether. And then you have your dies, and in your dies you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You've got 14 dies in that set there as well. So it's quite a good set. So as I said, if you're watching, oh hi Linda, how are you? Glad you're able to catch up with me today. Okay, so this is the stamp set we're using and the dies, and we'll also be using one of the, let me just grab it, sorry, something just went clunk. We're also going to be using one of the tags today in the new tags as well, and the tags are called the Tailored Made Tag Dies. So again, these will be coming in the new annual catalogue. They'll be coming out, so we'll be using this large tag in our card. So let me just remove all of this and let's get started. So I'll pop that to one side. So there's our card. So I'm just going to pop that over there, and let's get out all our products that we'll be needing. I have decided just to step this card up just a little bit. So I have made one change. So as I said, we're going to be using the hand-penned petals. We'll be using the Tailored Made Tag dies. So I've got all my dies just here. So let me just pop them to one side. We don't need that. That's just a spare. And there's our leaf dies we'll be using. We'll also be using the new soft succulent cardstock as our card base, and I've cut this at 10.5 centimeters by your 29.9. That's half a sheet of A4 cardstock, and I've scored that in half at 14.9. We're also needing some basic white cardstock. Now this piece is for my insert, and this is measuring 10 centimeters by 14.4. We'll also be using another piece of cardstock which is measuring 9.7 in our width and 14.1 in our depth, and I've just run that through one of the embossing folders. Now I'm always getting this one not quite right. Tasteful Textures 3D embossing folder. So that's what I've used in that, because that's what's continuing over in our new annual catalogue. So I've already embossed that just to give us a little bit of texture. Okay, so I'll pop that to one side. We'll be also using the piece of fresh freesia cardstock, and I've also cut this at 10 centimeters by 14.4, and we're going to mount this piece onto there. So that's a bit that I've added a little bit extra from my previous card. So I've also got so that's our card inserts. I'll pop that to one side. I've also got an extra piece of basic white, which we're going to stamp our floral image on, and we're going to cut out a few of those little bit of extras. The other piece that I've got is a piece of designer series paper from the hand penned designer series paper, and I'm using the reverse side of one of these, which is actually a mint macaron in colour, but I thought it actually went with the soft succulent quite well, and we're going to use this piece to cut out our tag, and we'll run that through our little mini cut and emboss machine. So let's just start with adhering, pop that over there out of the way, let's get that one out of the road, and let's adhere these two together. Now you could use your seal if you want to use your seal. I like to use my multi-purpose glue because it just allows me to be able to slip this card into place rather than sort of being stuck in the wrong spot. I can sort of play around a little bit with it. So I'm just going to pop that on top and then just very quickly move that into place. So I've only got like about a 2.5 millimeter, or actually 1.5 millimeter border all the way around, just to add that little bit of extra fresh freesia to it. So done that, so let's get our card base. We're going to fold this in half on our score line, making sure that our edges are together nicely, and using our bone folder, which at the moment I can't see, so I'm just going to use my fingers and just crease that down. And then again I'm going to pop some multi-purpose glue on the back of this. Now you could add dimensionals, but I decided not to because I've got using a lot of dimensionals on the back of my tag and on my floral, so I didn't really want it coming up too high to go into an envelope, but just to make sure that's nice and firm and straight where I wanted that to be. Beautiful. So that's just adding that little bit extra layer compared to our other one. Okay, and sometimes by adding that extra layer just adds that little bit more depth to our front of our card. Okay, so now I'm going to work on two things together here. So I've got my piece of scrap basic white, which I want to stamp on my floral image, but I also want to stamp a floral image on the inside, on my insert. So you can see with this card here, I've just stamped it off there in the corner as well. So I've already got my piece all blocked up, which is here. Now you do need to put a foam mat underneath, just to be able to give you a bit of padding and give you good contact with your stamp. Now you can put a piece of scrap paper on top of that if you wish, but I don't think I'll quite need it. Actually, I might when it comes to the next one. Let me just grab a piece from over here. Sorry, I just realised that with the one underneath I will be stamping off. Hi Vicky, hi Kim. Thank you for joining us. The new colours are lovely, aren't they, Vicky? Okay, so we're just going to use our Memento Black and ink up that stamp pad. Ink up the stamp, I should say, not the stamp pad. And we're just going to stamp that on our scrap basic white. That's looking good, and then I just want to do that again, so let me just ink this up again. And And I'm just going to square that up, and I want to just stamp off into this corner. With that piece as well. So let me just move that out of our road. So now we've got both of those stamped up beautifully. Okay. Now we need to colour these. Now when you colour these, the stamps don't actually fill in the whole area. All you're doing is really just putting a bit of colour onto it. So don't expect that you're going to be, bring this one back in, this is our front of our card. Don't expect this to this stamp here to fill up that whole flower. It's just to give a bit of colour. You can line it up, and it does line up quite well and easily. And we're just going to stamp off on that one. And then with this one here, I just want to make it a little bit lighter, so I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp on there. And by stamping these both together, just saves us that little bit of time. So that one's just a little bit lighter. Okay, so next one we need to do is this other bigger flower here. Now I've just blocked all these. Okay, so let's try this one. So this one here, we're going to move it around a little bit until we get it in the right position and stamp. This one we're going to stamp off and stamp. And that's one more. Whoops. I picked up the stamp and the stamp didn't come with me, or the block. Okay. Let's turn this one around, see which direction. That one. As I said, don't get too fussy but trying to get these into the right areas, because if you have a look at the designer series paper, they're not, it's just a penned line, and the colour does not necessarily fit perfectly inside the line, so it's not meant to be filling up that area completely. So that's all of the fresh freesia. And now we've got the one that I'm going to have trouble with, pale papaya. For some reason I keep wanting to calling it paella, which has got nothing to do with papaya. So we're going to stamp off on this one. Stamp, stamp off, stamp on that one. Full strength on this one. Pop my card over that side so I don't put ink on anything. And then we've got our leaves. And this is the beautiful soft succulent. I think my favourite colours are the fresh freesia and the soft succulent. Now what I've done with this little block, I've actually put the smaller stamp on one side and the bigger one on the other. And again, don't worry about the direction of the leaves. They're not going to marry up perfectly. All we're just trying to do is get a bit of colour in each one. So that's that one all completed. And now we have this one. Remember, stamping off. That just lightens up our tone. So it's the same colour, but it's just that shade lighter. Okay, so that's the inside of our card all done, and that's all the stamping on those. So I'll just pop that to one side. Now this piece here we could now attach to the inside of our card. So let me just close up this ink pad so I don't get ink on everything. Whoops, I'm throwing something at myself. And I've managed to get a little bit of smudge. Just let me clean my hands. Managed just to pick up a tiniest little bit of ink and get it onto the front of my card. It's always handy having some baby wipes just close by, just to make sure you've got no ink that you don't want to transfer somewhere else, anywhere. So again, just popping a little bit of multi-purpose glue on the back there. Don't want to get it too much of a glob in those places. Open up my card. Place that on the inside. Okay, I don't think that's going to be too noticeable. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, let me just pop that to one side and let's go on to the next thing. So next we need to die cut some of these. So move those right out of the road and let's bring in our mini cut and emboss. This is very, very handy for doing these little jobs. It's just the right size. So we're going to need plate number 1 and plate number 2. Hope you can see. I'm just going to line that up onto there. Now I am just going to cut that on top. I just want to cut that flower out. Just moving that around until it's perfectly positioned. And then I'm going to position the leaf dies on there as well. Carefully pop down that, just making sure that nothing has moved. Just when you're using your mini machine, just make sure you hold your handle, because it is a lighter weight machine than the big one. The handle and everything on this is actually plastic, so it's not as sturdy as the bigger machine. So you don't want to force things through, you just want to let things go through easily, naturally. Let's take our dies off. And there's our stamped image that we've just cut out. So I'll just pop that to one side, remove this one. Just want to remove these little bits and pieces here. And we've cut out those flowers, and I just need to cut, not the flowers, the leaves. I just need to cut out another leaf in this one. So I'll just pop that one there, pop the plate back on top and run that through again. This little cut and emboss machine, I think it works out to be about $104 for this little one, and $208, I think, if I'm correct, for the bigger one, if you want the bigger one. They are very worthwhile in getting, and because Stampin' Up are now doing a lot more dies than we used to years ago. So we've got a lot more that we can cut out, and there's a lot that we can cut out using just this mini machine. So even if you excuse me, even if you didn't want to start off with buying the big machine, you could very easily buy the big machine. You just wouldn't be able to do the embossing folder. They do have some mini embossing folders to go through this machine, but the one I used before for the card front you wouldn't be able to use. Now I have cut this piece of designer series paper down to a fairly tight size, so I just want to pop that in there and make sure that that's all sitting nicely and not going to move. And run that through. So I hope you're all having a lovely day and having nice weather where you are. It's not too bad here. Mind you though, I haven't been up out of my chair for a little while. I've got a very, very sore knee today. Can't walk too well, so I'm sort of staying put. Okay, let's move those plates out of the road. So now that's all our die cutting done. So we've now got our tag. And I'll just pop these to one side. And we don't need that leaf anymore. And we have this leaf here. Take my take a pick tool. I can pop that out through there. Beautiful. Clean all those up later on. So now we've got our tag, we've got our 3 basic white leaves, and we've got our stamped image. So it's time we can put this card together. First off though, I want to put some ribbon onto my tag. Actually, first off we might stamp. So I've got a sentiment here. It's the same one I used before, and it just says, "Feel better, friend." So it's just a nice little sentiment. I'm just going to ink that up, and we're going to stamp that right at the very top. Make sure we've got it the right way around. Line that up and stamp down once you think you've got that all nice and straight. Let's hope that I do. Let's hold that there for a few seconds just to let that ink bond to the paper. Beautiful. So I'm using the crinkled seam binding here, tape ribbon. It's a beautiful soft ribbon. I really love using this because it's very pliable. It's very soft, and I'm just cutting a length there, which is probably around about 30 centimeters in length, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to double that up. Actually, I won't double that up yet. I'm just going to fold that in half and poke that through. Let's use my scissors. Poke that through the hole. Probably could actually get away with a little bit less ribbon, but that's okay. What I might do is I might pull that through just work out how long I want it. I want it about that length. Let's trim that off. Okay, and then I'm going to use some of the baker's twine. This is the white, whisper white, or basic white from the baker's twine. That comes in the new pack, which is the baker's twine essential pack, which comes with all those lovely colours plus your white. So I've got my tags all there. I like to tie my bows upside down, so I'm just going to pop my tag upside down, wrap my baker's twine around that. So hopefully I've got this in camera so you can see. Yes, I do love the crinkle ribbon for the fact that it colours easily, Vicky. It is a beautiful ribbon for that. You can make it so you can use what Vicky's saying is that you can colour this quite simply by using your alcohol markers, the blends, to colour your white ribbon into whatever colour you want to have. So it's quite handy. And sorry, I'm just trying to tie a little bow here. I only want a small one, just at the top, just like that. Now I'm just going to make those a little bit smaller. Trim that back. And then at the top of my ribbon, I'm just going to angle this. Let me just cut that off because I just want that. Angle those two, angle those two. I don't mind if they're all a little bit different in length. So let's remove all of that. So that's our tag, which we're going to pop onto the front of our card. So we'll pop some dimensionals onto the back of that. You want to at least put one in each corner and then one in the middle, just to give it a bit of support, because we are going to put a little bit of weight on top of it with our rest of our work. So we need our card front here. Make sure we've got this the right way. Peel off the backings. Got that stuck almost where I didn't want it to be. And then we're going to pop that just about there. Now those just coming off a little bit off the top, and that's okay, I don't mind that. If you wanted to, you could put a glue dot underneath, just underneath those ribbons underneath there, just to hold that position, but I think that one's fine. Okay, so we're going to place these flowers on here. So we want to work out where we're going to roughly place them. And I'm going to place these on with dimensionals. But underneath this flower here, I've already got, because this is sitting on top of the tag, which is already sitting on one layer of dimensionals. But where it's coming off the tag here, if I don't put anything underneath here, it's just going to sort of not really sit overly nice. So I'm going to put underneath this particular flower here dimensionals, but I'm going to double layer it, and that'll just bring it up to the same height as the rest of it. So I'm just going to pop one onto there, take the backing off, grab another dimensional and pop it on top. So there's two layers. I don't know whether you can see that, but there's two layers of dimensionals there. So when that sits on there, it's actually going to sit nice and firm. So now I'm just going to pop some dimensionals in a few other spots just to hold everything in place. I'm not going too close to the edge because these are going to, it is going to hang off in some spots off the edge of the tag. And just take all the backings off. Remembering where that double one is, that's going to be sitting on the actual basic white cardstock. We want to position this where we want it to go, underneath that sentiment. Just like that. So now we've got like a couple of layers there. And I don't know whether you can actually see that, but then that's well supported in that spot because we'll put that double dimensionals there. Now we're going to add some extra these die cuts. We're going to use the multi-purpose glue to do this, just by adding a little bit of glue on the back. Don't want to add too much. We're going to pop one of those just there, popping out those little pieces out of the die cut, and we're going to take one of the other leaf pieces and adding some more the multi-purpose glue. another one there. And then we're just going to add a third one just over here underneath those flowers there. Now we're going to add some of these beautiful gems, and we're going to use our take a pick tool to do that. Now again, these are in the colours that match the beautiful designer series paper. So again, it is can't remember what colour that one is, but this one is the mint macaron colour. So we're going to use these. Another Vicky. Hi Vicky, how are you? Great, thanks for joining us. And we're going to place a big one of these in the centre of the large flower, and then a smaller one in each of these smaller flowers just there. So that's quite an easy and simple card to do. As I said, don't need to get hung up on trying to get the colour to stamp directly into that image, because it's not supposed to. And then all I've done just to finish this card off is I've got the Winker Stella, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that to my leaves, my basic white leaves. Whoops, that one hasn't stuck down properly. Just get that, push that in there a bit, hold it down. So just give this a bit of squeeze just to make sure we've got some ink coming out. And we're just going to pop a little bit on each of those leaves, and then on to the fresh freesia flowers, just to give a little bit of sparkle, because when you're not feeling good, it's nice to still have a bit of sparkle. So there we are, that's our card. So let me just remove some of the rubbish around me. So that's our card today. Let me bring you my other card so you can see them. And just by stepping it up with another layer of colour underneath that mat really does just lift the card. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. So let me just flip my camera around again. Won't be one moment. Here we are again. Well, thank you again for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you can get hold of the stamp set once it comes out. As I said before, if you do live here in Australia and you don't have a demonstrator, you can contact me and I can get out a catalogue to you. But thank you for joining us, and I hope we'll see you again next Friday when we'll make another card. Anyway, bye for now. Have a lovely day. Thank you.